All right, we're live with Jeff Gunsberg, Randy, founder and owner of Title Connect. Jeff, always fun talking with you. Randy and I are looking forward to it. Randy, we've been doing these Wednesdays for what, 3 months now?
Yeah, time goes by quick.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get on. For a while.
We know.
I mean, you guys are famous now.
It's a high demand show, Jeff. It's a high demand show. But we're looking forward to talking with you today on a slew of things. And we've been talking to a lot of companies every week, Randy and I, a lot of interesting people, just about how you're kind of adapting to COVID. You have an interesting business. You're in the title business, and you're in the people business. And so how has the people business changed for you over these last 3 months, and how are you guys adapting?
Well, obviously we haven't seen each other. So we're having there's a challenge, but as we've spoken about before, the goal is still the same, and we have to be relevant, and we have to stay consistent with our contact and dealing with people. And it changed. It's kind of evolved even through this process, because like at the beginning of it, it was like, listen, you're not calling up people, agents and other folks like soliciting business. It's like, this is time to talk about the relationships we have, and a simple check-in, like, how you doing? What's going on? Is your family healthy? Is everyone okay? And I think, people truly appreciate that, especially when it's sincere and genuine. And but we don't have the ability to have events, which is a huge piece of what I do. Things are starting a little bit. You can have some outside, little happy hours and maybe some golf or things like that. But it's certainly a challenge to stay in front of people and keep people engaged.
Yeah, so I know in the world of title, Jeff, especially, I do a lot of deals with your company, and frankly, I'm never disappointed. So thank you. But I'm seeing, because of COVID, there are a lot of new things that have happened, I think, in many industries. But one industry that I've seen a lot of changes in the real estate market. Recently, on a closing, I saw a COVID indemnity, which I found interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Basically, Jonathan, what COVID indemnity is, and I want Jeffrey to kind of comment on this, is between the time of the closing and the actual recording of the document, if things transpire between that time, they're not responsible, meaning the title company. So how are you handling that, Jeffrey, in terms of addressing the concerns of your customer?
It's getting way better now, because the counties were closed. I mean, there were certain places where the Register of Deeds was just closed. Like, you couldn't get documents recorded unless they were accepting e-recording. So the e-recording piece, was certainly helpful, but basically, the seller is still providing a warranty deed. So even though that document may not be recorded, they would still have it would be necessary for them to get involved, and there would be, everyone would have the ability to kind of go back to that if something popped up within that gap period of time. But basically, for me to issue that gap coverage, that indemnity was being executed so that I could provide that coverage. The concern that people had was kind of outweighed by the need or the desire for the parties to close. Lender, buyer, seller, everybody that, being on board and pushing the transaction to close is really kind of outweighed that situation. It did come up, a fair amount. But we just advise people, listen, it's closed. The Register of Deeds is closed, and we'll record the documents as soon as we possibly can. Lender, are you okay? Seller, are you okay? Buyer, are you okay? And everybody was on board. That kind of was. I was surprised that there wasn't as much pushback.
Yeah, because I mentioned what we always talk about is mindset, and the mindset of every one of us is tackling things beyond our wheelhouse.
Yeah.
for example, for most attorneys, it says on their business card, attorney and counselor, right? Now, in your world, Jeffrey, dealing with people's mindset, which is something that, Jonathan is always preaching, the mindset of the customer has really changed because they're looking to you based on all of the goodwill that you built in the industry, saying, Jeffrey, I trust you that nothing's going to happen. How have you dealt with that additional pressure?
Right. I seem to thrive on pressure. And but it's been taxing for sure, and the deadlines to get things done, and the added pressure of the staff not being right there readily available to have conversations, and being able to expedite transactions and get things done at the speed that we normally would be able to operate in when we're all in the office. It's been challenging, but I think what the main way that I've been able to deal with it, and what we do is, it's managing personalities, and a lot of times in real estate, although it's not supposed to get to that place, it's emotional, and people are, and especially during this, I've just really been preaching to people about their mindset and expectation. Listen, we're going to do everything in our power to get this thing done as fast as we possibly can for you and protect everyone's interests. And, there are things that are out of our control, but you'll be made aware immediately the second I see something that's an issue, something that's wrong, something you should be concerned about, just like always. And people have been receptive to that. I think and I think either you're used to doing that and communicating with people and letting them know what's going on, and managing and dealing with problems before they come bigger problems, and trying to fix it, and delay advising everybody about it. Communicating with people and just letting them know, listen, it's uncertain for me, it's uncertain for you, and we're going to do everything in our power to make it go as smoothly as possible and make sure that everyone's protected. And that's been, I've had those conversations more times than I can even count.
Yeah. It's interesting, Jeff, you manage a sales team, and you also do sales, and you also run a business. And so what you're talking about, I love the kind of the collection of things you're talking about, which is effective communication, empathy, gratitude, for keeping them all together, but also holding people accountable, which I think is really important. And so in the world today, we're all kind of building our new playbook, right? Every company is in a way building their new playbook. And part of that playbook, a big part of that playbook, is getting current with technology. So how is not only your company, but how is your industry moving to use technology more effectively where maybe they haven't in the past?
Yeah, the technology piece is huge. First off, just generally in business, right? If you would have told me we would have had, 85, 90% of our people all working at home efficiently, no one would believe it. 4 or 5 months ago, I would have said you're insane. I would have said you're insane. But this kind of thing forces people to adapt and change, which has been amazing watching it go on, especially technology within, let's say municipalities. There's so many municipalities, which in today's times, I don't even get it, that wouldn't e-record. They just don't. You have to physically go in, and, it never made sense to me. But those, municipalities that weren't accepting it, all of a sudden you see them jump on the bandwagon. Lenders, the electronic signature and electronic signings have been something that have been out there for years and years. Lenders just really haven't been comfortable with accepting all electronic documents, although it would make everyone's life so much easier. So that the online notary signings have come into play. They changed the notary laws to allow for a video signing. I'm still watching somebody sign the documents, can notarize them that way. So there was an adaptation, there. And technology is like, I'm changing all of the marketing platforms that we had before seem irrelevant. So, we're doing things to change. I have new programs that we just kind of finalized, and I picked 3 that are they're all virtual. They're items that still add value and are relevant and provide the ability for us to be in front of all of our clients without having to do that ourselves. This particular company, every Tuesday and Thursday, they'll be marketing pieces that are branded with our information. And then, and then there's just technology pieces for realtors, mortgage people, attorneys, all kinds of different things that are available now that it's a good time, although it's an insane time, that all the technology that's available, we haven't been as busy, obviously, as we were. So we've been using the time wisely and figuring out new platforms, new ways to, streamline our process, how to become more efficient. And technology, although can be challenging, is really the cornerstone of a lot of that, and our automation has changed and given us the ability to do things that we wouldn't have done before. So, I'm excited I'm excited for the change, and like we talked about, like, it's amazing what people do when they're forced.
Yeah.
When you have a situation like this and you're forced into, either, adapting and changing with the times, or, fold up, it's amazing. I mean, all the folks, that surround the industry are really just, you can see, the positivity and change that's going on, although it's an insane, uncertain time.
So you have obviously a lot of competition, Jeffrey. From let's say your underwriters like First American, and you have Old Republic, and you have all of these names, but yet you continue to dominate the local market. I mean, in effect, you're a category killer, right? And it's no less hard to your personality, your sincerity, and your true gratitude for work. So how do you use that platform to drive changes within your business to motivate all of the exceptional people that work for you? So especially now during COVID, when they're not in front of you, what are you doing differently now to capture and continue being the gorilla in the room?
So, with our people internally, and John's kind of, we've had this conversation, you can influence people, but you can't motivate them to do what you want them to do. But, we've changed internally to just, to be communicating more with, and again, with technology, we would have these once a month sales meetings that, right now, after looking back on it, seem absurd that we sit in this room for an hour and we go back and forth. And what we accomplished with a 30-minute video call every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with my team, keeps us together. We're communicating with each other, we're talking, and just through this process, we're just finding out, like, guys, how you doing? Like, this is tough. So certain people, you're single, you're at home, you're alone, you can't come out. How you dealing with that? Are you okay? And the positivity was amazing, throughout this whole process. And I obviously take some credit for that, but it's really my team that, I mean, they're unbelievable. We have assorted people that are in the office still that were amazing, that were working there, and we're just down for the cause, which really speaks to our culture. And as far as clients go, it's really just you're not able to sit in rooms with people and see them, and again, I think I've never been a hard sell kind of guy. My personality and my work speaks for itself, and it's harder, certainly, but a call, a text, I love you, how you doing, what's going on, is certainly something that has benefited us. But I feel like the relationships that were created, just like with you guys too, those withstand the test of time and these kinds of issues. When you can't be around people, it's like, listen, I know Jeff. I know, yes, maybe I'm not seeing him constantly and he's not in front of my face all the time selling me and buying me this and taking me to dinner and whatever, like those kind of things. But the relationships that have been created are it's exciting for me to see that, the long lasting effects of the work that, you put into those relationships.
One of the things you're talking about, Jeff, which I love to hear is, pre-COVID, the market was most people were experiencing a really good market. And so sometimes I see when that happens, they kind of ease up on accountability. And so what COVID has done is it has forced people to communicate more often, be consistent, and do the one thing that differentiates the good to the great, to the exceptional, to the unbelievable, which is execute more consistently with a higher level of accountability. And that's what you're talking about, right? Which is talking 3 days a week, daily check-ins, not to micromanage, but to just say, hey, love you, this, that, and the other. It's executing, staying in the game, not going to the sidelines, and holding people at a high bar of accountability. And it's interesting because you talked about in the beginning, this isn't a time to sell. This isn't a time to sell. I think we're evolving from that a little bit. I think it is a little bit more time to sell.
Yes, I do. I agree.
But yet, one of the things that I think we cannot go backwards on is continually raising the bar on consistent execution and holding people accountable. We can still have empathy and fairness and promote work-life balance and homeschool your kids if you need be, but still hold people accountable for the specific and measurable things that they need to do. And so just highlighting that a little bit more, as you manage your people, as you grow your people, how are you holding them accountable? And how are you keeping them consistently executing?
So we initially, like we were talking about when this first started, it was like, okay, somebody doesn't hit their numbers during this, the initial phase of this and what's going on. It's like, how do you, there's a time and what you're talking about is that shift is starting to kind of come now, and it's starting to, the accountability is starting to become more and more and more important. And for me, it's really, holding myself accountable, I think, as an example, showing them, listen, here's what's going on. I'm out there every day looking for tools for you guys to utilize, new platforms, new software, new ideas, innovation on how to stay in touch with clients, and, continually coming up with new ideas and me showing them that I am accountable to them as well as to everybody at the company to make sure we keep everybody employed, increases their sense of accountability just by watching it. And, we are numbers wise. I mean, they, the staff, the salespeople have really done an amazing job. And, where I thought we were going to go, just because I think, anybody who's been through the 2010 stuff automatically see something like this going on, and you go to, crisis management mode in your head of, oh boy, this is going to be bad. And I mean, I've been pleasantly surprised at the numbers, and people have been holding themselves accountable, but the constant communication, like, I'm not going to change that. Like, we're not going to go back to a once a month sales meeting, and I told you this too. There's no reason to do it. We get way more out of these video calls. Listen, people are at home, you're walking your dog, you're in your element, and we're having conversation. And listen, yes, we're talking about numbers. Okay, where are you guys at? What are your orders? And they know that this conversation's happening, not once a month or once a week, but 3 times a week, this conversation is happening. Right. So it is by having that communication alone, they don't have a choice but to be accountable and more in tune to their numbers, because it's a constant topic and it's always coming up. and everybody's on it together. There's not like an individual meeting where somebody's having an issue. It's all of us together, and we're all talking about, okay, listen, how can I help you? If this is happening, what's going on here? What's going on there? How can we change the game for you? What can we do to, and everybody's kind of chiming in to help each other. But I think that I haven't had to like really push the accountability thing like I have before, because of the fact, at least in my opinion, based on the communication, the constant communication and the constant pushing of, focus, targets. Where do you go now? Okay. Like, here's where we're at. This is, here's what's going on. The rates are amazing. Okay. Focus on lenders. All right. Now things are shifting a little bit back. Realtors are back to work July 7th. Get back in the purchase game. Bankruptcy attorneys and divorce attorneys, those things are probably going to become more relevant and great sources for business. So I feel like we're talking more continually about ideas and where to go and how to go there. And it's just served everybody really well and kept everybody together and accountable to each other.
Good.
So I have a follow-up to that, Jeffrey. I want to get your take on two things. Number one, do you see yourself as, well, in terms of psyche for the employee, do they want to come back to a physical environment, or do they want to continue working remotely? And then, where do you see the future of space in terms of, you see deal velocity, but are you getting, and I know a lot of people have opinions on this, what are your thoughts on, the viability of offices and, people actually purchasing more, brick and mortar for running their business in the advent of Zoom and what we've learned during the pandemic?
Yeah. So we've started to send emails out to our staff to let them know that, like we're shooting for a mid-July, 1st of August kind of, a flow in of, folks coming back. But I would certainly say that there are people that, that don't want to come back and are efficient. I mean, the vast majority of everybody is very efficient working at home. And I see certain departments, like we have our abstract and exam department, for instance, they don't need to be in the office, so like that's my segue into the second part of your question is I see the need diminishing, certainly, for as much space. I always need to have, physical space because people want to come, they want to close. Well, I say always, but who knows, as things go and things become more virtual with closings and things of that nature. I mean, the need for more space may diminish even further. But I've always, on the leasing side of things, I stay, pretty clear and try and focus more on the investment real estate guys. But, the few conversations that I've had with folks that are, brokers that do leasing, especially for our office, are searching for other avenues of of how to focus. Again, I think, physical brick and mortar space is a positive thing for an image and for a company. And, I feel like in my business, I'll always have to have some presence, so people have a level of comfort, for some time. But, it'll be interesting to see. I see that. I see in the conversations I've had, I see a lot of people who are analyzing how much space they have, where they have it, and working on ways to kind of downsize.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in the office market in the years to come. For a lot of the I'm hearing and talking to people who same thing are so efficient, so effective, don't have to they have more time to do things for themselves. They have more time with their family. They don't have to worry about the drive home to their family, and they like doing calls, being able to walk their dog and still be really efficient and effective, and just kind of morph some of their worlds a little together. And so I'm curious to see where everything moves. I have a quick question on the hiring process, right? So when you have when you do move to kind of a more of a remote element, moving forward, not that you're saying that you are or aren't at this point, but in general, if you do move to that point, not just for you, for other companies, onboarding new people is now going to start to change. And so typically when you work in an office, you onboard, you meet everybody in the office, there's like a system, you get to really be engulfed in the culture. Well, now cultures are going to start moving to more remote. And so how do you onboard somebody new and ramp them up?
Yeah, we actually just hired somebody, and he's going to be somebody who's in the office. But when he comes there, it's like, I mean, there may be certain people that he never meets.
Right.
I started thinking about that the other day. Like, you have this relationship with, people, you're constantly on the phone and you're emailing and you're back and forth. And, it's normal when you're dealing in real estate transactions, but when you're working with people like inner office, like it's kind of an odd thing to like think about, how do you integrate somebody in and get them to, get them, as part of the system as fast as possible and comfortable with people. And, that social aspect of the office is going to be different. And, I wanted to touch on one other thing too. Like with the office on the previous question, like we're like redoing our office and making the spaces bigger. So like there's not like now I'm not going to be able to fit as many, whereas in my upstairs office, we would be able to fit 25 people. Before it's going to be like 17 people now, because we're making the cubes bigger, further apart from each other, to make sure that we're, you got to be conscious of how other people feel. I mean, everybody's feelings about this, right, are different. And, you got to make sure you do your part to keep everybody safe. And, it's weird. I mean, our front door is locked. There's a Ring doorbell on there. People can't just walk in. We have people walking in, constantly. That was just, part of it. You have to fill out there's a screening form that you have to fill out prior to coming. You have to, it's different.
Right. We're all going to have, in the future, a cell phone, a laptop, and a handheld personal thermometer, or maybe our iPhone.
On your iPhone.
Randy.
Yeah, that's it. Like,
Randy, any closing questions for Jeff?
Yeah, just everything Jeff does is pure and authentic. So one thing I love about working with Jeffrey is you know exactly where you are in the transaction. You know exactly where you fall in terms of priority, because if you're the closing that day, you are the priority. And one thing I've always been amazed at is Jeffrey, being the owner of the company, is at the closing table. So that says a lot about the relationships he has and how much he values not just the transaction, but the people he works with. So, I've always admired that about you. So thank you for the great work. And I know, during COVID, obviously there were trying times and challenging times for all of us, but we've all come out better. We've all come out, I think, with more compassion, sincerely more compassion and more awareness of, the people around us and, what might set them off and, where they might need a little bit more hand-holding. So, you obviously showcase all of that naturally. For some, it's not, but again, I appreciate you for being you, and don't ever change.
Yeah. I knew Jeff.
I love you, man.
Back from my Marcus and Millichap days, almost 20 years ago, and he was exactly what you said, where he would come to our office and help all of us a ton. Jeff's doing a family transaction for us right now, and it's been as easy as could be. And you're I agree with everything without having to repeat what Randy said. Keep up the great work, Jeff, of everything that you guys are doing. Tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
248-563-7919 is my cell. And that's the preferred mode of communication at this point, for sure.
All right.
So, but I appreciate you guys so much. I appreciate the relationship, and I love you both. And thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, always, man. You can come on anytime you want. Just ask.
Just ask, but don't pressure.
Listen, you invite me. Listen. Being able to.
You're always
I
welcome.
love seeing
Randy
you.
and John.
I would love to.
Always ready.
All
We're always
right.
ready for you. Randy, always fun. Jeff, always
love the Randy and
with
John.
you. Appreciate everything you do. Thanks for everything. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks, Randy.
All right. Thanks, guys. Love you. Thank you. All right.
Love you, brother.